Governor Sarah Palin joins us on the phone from Alaska. Governor, welcome back to the program.
Thank you so much, John. How are you?
I'm good. Do you remember your first appearance here?
I don't remember telling me.
All right, I'll tell you. It was in 2008 before John McCain caught sight of you, and you came on the show to talk about ANWR.
That is right, and hopefully we'll get to keep talking about ANWR and more of our energy independent steps we should be taking, especially after today's speech that you'll hear of Obama feeding the public a bunch of BS about what he claims he's doing for energy independence and security in America, because you can imagine and anticipate that everything he says, you can believe the opposite. So hopefully we'll get to talk more about energy and ANWR in the future, John.
Well, we will. I should remind people that President Obama is making a speech today on climate change and is going to essentially announce, he's killing coal best he can today. And his people in the White House are tweeting out things like, Republicans just don't get that there's a generation for whom climate change is not a debate. And I think that, that may be true at the moment, but these people haven't paid an electric bill yet, and they have no idea what's coming down the pike when coal is killed.
Well, Obama and Biden will be fulfilling their promises that people should have paid attention to in the campaign and before the campaign in 2008, where they said, that they would essentially kill coal and that there's no such thing as clean coal, and our energy rates will necessarily skyrocket. All those things that he warned us that he would do, he's finally going to try to cram those down our throats.
The Senate voted 67 to 27, I think it was, for cloture last night, meaning that the immigration bill as it now stands in the Senate proceeds to a vote next week, and it's probably going to get about 70 votes. And this is all focusing on Marco Rubio. Now, one time, Sarah Palin was saying nice things about Marco Rubio. How about now?
You're right. At one time I was, because I thought that he was an honest politician, though I know it sounds like an oxymoron, but Rubio had said in campaigns and prior to all of this hogwash that we see coming down the pike with amnesty, he had said that he would never support legalization of illegals, those who entered and stayed in the U.S. illegally. He promised that he wouldn't support such a thing as amnesty, and that border security would come first, and instead he's reneged on that promise. And just, it makes, I think, the public, the segment paying attention to what's going on, gives us more reason not to trust politicians, not to trust our government, unfortunately, which is a scary place for our republic to be.
Are you saying Marco Rubio has flip-flopped on his position on immigration?
Marco Rubio has blatantly flip-flopped on his position on immigration, on amnesty, on border security. This bill that he has orchestrated, he's been a leader on the bill, is rewarding lawbreakers, which he had said previously he would not do. And what it does, it gives Barack Obama such a victory in his mission to fundamentally transform America, economically, national security-wise, with constituents' relationship with our government and with politicians. All of this that Marco Rubio is pushing on the American public just gives a huge victory to our leader, Barack Obama, in his desire to change America into something that we're just not going to recognize.
Do you think conservatives should turn their back on Marco Rubio?
I think every politician should be held accountable for breaking their campaign promises. Kelly Ayotte, bless her heart, she said on her website as a candidate that her top immigration priority would be to secure the border. No excuses is her quote, no excuses. And she was absolutely against amnesty. And yet Kelly Ayotte and Marco Rubio and all the others who had said that the border security must come first before any talk about immigration reform, they turn their back on the American public, so why should they not be held accountable?
Well, in what way? I mean, you think they should be denied? Voters should deny them, the big spots on Republican tickets?
I think that they should be challenged. I don't have a problem with heated debates and contested primaries where they have to answer to constituents regarding their flip-flopping on such a fundamental position as amnesty for illegal immigrants. I don't have a problem at all with contested primaries. In fact, competition makes us all better and makes us be held accountable. So I'd like them to be held accountable and have to answer to why it is that they flip-flopped.
What is it you would do about immigration?
There are a lot of common sense solutions out there, and they all have to start with securing the border first. And that's what, when I ran for VP, that's what I campaigned on. That's what, in fact, the entire immigration foundation was built on in our campaign, was secure the borders first. So that has to be first and foremost. And then, there's some common sense practical things that we could be doing regarding securing that border. One is, first, let me get back to the reason why I think these folks are doing what they're doing. They're afraid of being called racist, for one, and we have to ignore that false charge against we who have been called racist because we want our nation to continue to be a rule of law. So we have to ignore that, and we have to make sure that there are those common sense solutions that need to be at least discussed in Congress. Things like, John, why is it that we don't perhaps privatize some of the land along that 2,000-mile border? Let farmers and ranchers cultivate and develop some of that land, and they would have the most incentive to keep illegals and illegal trafficking of other activity off our lands, off the U.S. lands, instead of just letting the feds be in control of that public property, because they're not doing a good enough job, obviously. Also, we could make sure that there are triggers within any kind of immigration reform law that actually has teeth in the law, making sure that there are enforcement triggers that can't be reneged upon by, like, the Secretary of Homeland Security, as we see in this amnesty bill today.
Can I ask you? You're suggesting that maybe the Fed should allow certain portions of that border area to be privatized. Private parties buy them, farmers, ranchers, whatever, and that they would secure the border. In Arizona, in some places in Texas, that is a problem for the farmers and ranchers. They don't have the firepower or the manpower to stand up to drug runners and human traffickers. How would that work?
Well, it doesn't work today because the federal government has taken away their power to and their right to protect private properties, and that's more of a big picture fundamental problem of the feds. That's why Dan Brewer in Arizona passed their laws and tried to sue the federal government over this issue, and with Barack Obama in power and the Democrats in power who want amnesty and want the porous border. Obviously they want it, otherwise they would have been doing something about it. It's a very tough task, but I still say that privatizing more of the federal lands along the border could be one of those common sense solutions. Farmers, ranchers, clear incentive then to keep their private property secure from the flow of illegals. And another thing that could be done is pass-through grants, which governors accept all the time from the federal government, allow pass-through grants to be given to border states for those states to actually build a fence. And that way we skip that level of the less responsive and less responsible level of government, which is the federal government. We get to bypass all the bureaucracy and problems that they create in trying to actually build a physical fence, and the states will get to do it, those border states. I don't know why a pass-through grant for a state to actually get to build that fence hasn't been considered.
What do you think of the situation now where this Edward Snowden, who revealed NSA secrets, was allowed to leave Hong Kong when the Chinese authorities had been presented with an extradition request from the United States, and now he's in Russia, and Vladimir Putin has declared him to be a free man, and there's rejected attempts from the United States to have him extradited from there. What do you think of the situation in general, and in particular the position President Obama's in?
Well, Putin just gave Barack Obama the middle finger. Putin did say Snowden's a free man, and the irony in this, of course, is just overwhelming that here these unfree nations, when you consider the rights that the people within these nations are not allowed to enjoy compared to America being a free nation, it's so ironic that the leader of an unfree nation would declare Snowden a free man. And, the leader of the free world, Barack Obama, let him know that, you're not going to tell our nation what to do, is what Putin's saying. But I still say Snowden's not the problem. The problem in this whole issue is that there's been a violation of our Fourth Amendment rights to privacy and against searches and seizures of an innocent private citizen's communications, all of our communications. And Snowden told the truth about it. Government lied about it, but Snowden's the bad guy, and our government bureaucrats are the heroes in this. That's Orwellian.
What if you were in the position that Barack Obama's in? What would you do to get Snowden back? First of all, would you want him back?
I would want him back because there are questions that Snowden has to answer to, obviously, and I'm not putting Snowden up on some kind of pedestal like he's a hero. If he broke the law, he broke the law, and it just goes back to amnesty and everything else. We are governed by the rule of law, and people need to follow the law. Otherwise, it's chaos, and it's and a very bizarre run republic, as we're seeing today under Barack Obama. By the way, it is a bizarrely run republic, but I would want him back so that he would be held accountable for any law that he has broken. But I still say those government officials who lied to the American public and lied to Congress about what that hierarchy in government was doing to our Fourth Amendment, to our Constitution, they should be held accountable too, and they need to answer questions. That's why it amazes me that there is so much focus on this Snowden character when there's a bigger problem than just this one individual letting Americans know what their government is doing on spying on innocent Americans' communications.